You know, in the music world, we absolutely love a good comeback story. But the thing is, what Tina Turner did in the 80s, that wasn't just a comeback. No, it was something way bigger. It was like a total resurrection, a phoenix from the ashes moment that just completely rewrote the rulebook for everyone.
I mean, just look at this. The contrast is absolutely staggering. On one hand, you've got Tina at the end of the 70s, drowning in debt, playing hotel lounges, basically seen as a relic from another era. And then boom, less than 10 years later, she's a global icon, headlining stadiums, and hailed as the undisputed queen of rock and roll.
So, the big question is, how on earth did that happen? And let me tell you, it wasn't just luck. It was this incredible mix of pure, raw resilience, a brilliant strategy, and just this absolute refusal to let her past define her.
Okay, so first things first. To really get how huge this comeback was, you have to understand just how impossible it all seemed back then. I mean, the odds weren't just stacked against her, they were practically off the charts. For someone in her shoes, it was supposed to be game over.
All right, let's paint a picture of 1983, right? You've got MTV running the show, and it's all about youth, synth pop, and often white artists from the UK. And here comes Tina, a 44-year-old black woman famous for soul music from like 20 years earlier. Seriously, by every single metric the music industry used, her career should have been completely done.
Now, to really understand how high she climbed, we've got to go down to the absolute bottom to see where she started. And that story, well, it really kicks off the second she found the strength to walk away from Ike Turner and that whole life.
So, in the divorce proceedings, Tina gave up, well, pretty much everything. Royalties, property, you name it. She even took on all the debt from their canceled tours. She asked for just one thing. One single thing. Her name. Even then, at her lowest point, she was smart enough to know that Tina Turner was the only real brand, the only piece of capital she truly owned, and she had to protect it. But man, holding on to that name came at a huge cost. This is what people call her wilderness years, and they were rough. We're talking about living on food stamps, cleaning houses to make ends meet. She was doing spots on game shows and playing the Vegas lounge circuit, and she wasn't doing it for the applause. She was doing it to pay off creditors in the IRS. Think about that. A living legend, starting all over again from square one.
So what on earth keeps a person going through all that? For Tina, it was her spiritual practice. It became her anchor. And look, this wasn't just some minor detail in her life. It was everything. It was the bedrock that helped forge that fierce lioness persona that the whole world would soon see.
All right, so things start to turn around when this young Australian manager, a guy named Roger Davis, comes into the picture. And the thing about Roger was, he didn't see some oldies act. Not at all. He saw something totally different, a whole new future for her. See, Davies saw what every single American record exec was completely blind to. He knew she wasn't a soul singer stuck in the past. No, she was a rock and roll force of nature. A performer who could go toe-to-toe with the biggest frontmen on the planet, like Jagger or Rod Stewart. His whole job was just to get her in front of an audience that could see it too.
And where was that audience? Turns out it was in the UK, so we moved her to London. And over there, the cool younger artists, the new wave and post-punk crowd, they didn't see a relic. They saw an absolute icon. So she starts collaborating with folks like Heaven 17, and suddenly you get these first hints of the new Tina sound, her raw, powerful voice mixed with these cool, modern electronic beats.
Okay, so this all leads us to 1984. And get this, Capitol Records was literally days away from dropping her. They basically threw her a bone, a tiny budget, a 2-week deadline to record an album. And that album? Well, that album was Private Dancer.
And here's a great little story. The one song that would completely define her comeback? She hated it at first. Yeah, she thought What's Love Got to Do With It was just too soft, too pop. So what did she do? She made it her own. She didn't sing it with some naive, bubbly energy. No, she sang it with this weary, almost cynical sophistication of someone who has lived. And that's what made it real. That's what connected with people.
So when that song goes to #1, Tina is 44 years old. 44. That made her the oldest solo female artist to ever hit the top of the Billboard charts. This wasn't just breaking a record. This was taking the industry's unspoken rule about women having an expiration date and just smashing it to pieces.
And the strategy behind the album itself was pure genius. See, Private Dancer wasn't just one thing. It was like this brilliant strategic assault on every part of the radio dial. You got gritty rock guitars for the AOR stations. You had the perfect pop of What's Love for Top 40. You had edgy synthesizers for the MTV generation. And you still had a beautiful Al Green cover for her original soul fans. It was designed to win over everybody.
And of course, this was the MTV era, right? So the look was just as important as the sound. So she threw out all those old glamorous sequin dresses, and instead she adopted this street fighting look. Denim, leather, fishnets, and then the hair. That iconic, spiky, bleached blonde wig. It wasn't just hair, it was a symbol. It was the silhouette of a warrior, and it was perfect for video.
So once Private Dancer exploded, this thing stopped being a comeback. This was the start of straight-up global domination. I mean, the speed at which everything happened is just wild to look back on. So in '85, she's not just a singer anymore, she's a movie star, playing Auntie Entity in Mad Max. She's on stage with Mick Jagger at Live Aid, performing for literally billions of people. By '86, her next album is multi-platinum, and just a couple years later, she's setting Guinness World Records. And we're not talking some small record here. We're talking 180,000 people at one concert in Rio de Janeiro. Just pause and think about that for a second. Barely 10 years before this, she's playing cabarets and lounges, just trying to pay off debts. And now, she's holding court in front of one of the biggest paying crowds for a solo artist ever.
But you know, in the middle of all this insane success, she did something maybe even more powerful. She released her autobiography, I, Tina, and she told her story, the real story, the whole truth about the years of abuse. And this was so important. Why? Because it completely reframed the narrative. Her success wasn't just about hit songs anymore. It was about survival, about triumph over unimaginable trauma. It humanized her victory.
So let's bring it all home. Why does this story matter so much decades later? Because it was never just about the music or selling albums. Her journey basically rewrote the code, the entire operating system of the music industry.
You can really boil her legacy down to 3 massive ways she changed the game. First, she just blew up the idea of ageism. She proved that maturity, that life experience, wasn't a liability for a woman in music, it was an asset. Second, she reclaimed rock and roll. A black woman becoming the undisputed queen of rock and roll was a powerful, powerful statement. And finally, the power of ownership. By fighting for nothing but her name, she turned it from a Sidekicks brand into a global empire. She taught everyone a lesson about owning your own story.
So in the end, you realize her incredible reinvention wasn't really about becoming someone else. It was about getting rid of all the layers, all the pain, all the things that weren't truly her, to finally let the absolute force of nature that was always inside just shine. And her story leaves us with this incredible, inspiring idea. It is never too late to become who you were always meant to be.